Hi, everybody. So I am back to YouTube, and Dayna is here with me. And we're going to talk about some of the things that have been happening, but also why they're happening. And there's a lot of trauma going on. So we want to talk about that and what does it all mean? What's happening right now? What are we doing? Yeah.
Absolutely.
How are you, Dayna?
Doing good. We are recording this on Easter of 2025. So for those of you that observe, happy Easter. It's probably
Yes.
passed by the time you watch this, but yeah, there's a lot of things changing, a lot of shifts, and a lot of things that are just purging quickly or very slowly.
Mhm.
So we can talk about both and how to cope with those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like, when we were talking about the solar flash all the time,
Mhm.
and the solar flash is coming, and then it was like, well, it looks like the solar flash has spread itself out. And now we're in that end stage of the solar flash,
Mhm.
about to shoot out of the birth canal and come into being reborn into kind of a new frequency. And people that were not like their body or their mind or their inner child or whatever part of them could not reach that frequency are passing right now.
They
So
are.
it's been
And
massive.
it's been really tough, yeah. Those of you that follow Honey, you do know that she lost her dad recently. And I also, on our side of the family, we lost my husband's aunt. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and the dynamic of choosing versus not choosing. But yeah, and the energies are very intense. I felt
Yeah.
tired this whole weekend and I've slept in, rested, just the kids were really relaxing. We did go to a trampoline park on Friday, so that was pretty intense because
Oh,
I
yeah.
joined in. But that, it took a lot out of me, and usually it doesn't. So yeah, that solar flash energy is really pulling on us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I could feel some of the angsty energy this morning, and I felt pretty calm the last several days, since dad has passed. And I've been in the astral plane with him the 3 nights after he passed. So the first night, his body consciousness reintegrated with his soul, and his soul is like big and blue, and it looks like a human, very similar to a human being. And we
Mhm.
look very humanoid, most of us, in the astral plane. But you don't have to. You can choose to look however you want. But I could see that body consciousness go back in. And then I could see his inner child being very excited and trying to figure out what his next step was. And there was a lot of hopping around and kind of crazy activity with the inner child. And it's funny because I could see him as a light body, but he had this funny little bowl cut. So he had hair, but his whole body was made of light, and that was his inner child. And he had black hair as a, kid,
Mhm.
and as an adult too, but towards the end he just had white hair.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. And then he went through his soul review or his life review the next 2 nights, and I was present for that and got to kind of let go of some of my own stuff because it was a very traumatic way he chose to pass. It was very back and forth. He's living, he's going to be okay, he's not okay, he's going to be okay, he's not okay. And then finally, him choosing that he wanted to go.
Mhm.
And then us having to help facilitate that with hospice, which, I mean, the current medical system, no, no interest in that whatsoever from me. But he definitely manifested a lot of the worst parts of that system. And we really went through a lot with him, and him finally letting go after 5 days of really intense, you know, work to help his body let go, his nervous system. So the nervous system hangs on, which is really, it's the autonomic nervous system, like just keeps you breathing even though you're absolutely miserable.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's been quite a journey, and I'm really grateful that he's free at this point. But so many people are choosing this route, and some of them are choosing to go in a way like he did, which is like very back and forth, very crazy. And I think some of the energies have contributed to that as well, like the ups and downs. And their bodies are just so fragile that they can't really do it. And he's so happy now.
Yeah.
Like he's so happy to be free.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a heaviness that you can tap into. And as
Mhm.
they choose to leave the physical, reemerging into the non-physical, you feel a lightness. So there was a lull period there where we weren't really chatting, texting back and forth. And then the night before he passed, it flooded in like a lightness. And I just checked in with you, and he said you knew, you felt it as well, that, and obviously, that he
Yeah.
had made a decision, even though he was still breathing, his heart was still going. It was a decision that was made.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Yeah. And we chose, one of the things that was interesting is if you are going through the hospice like process right now, sitting with them all of the time actually encourages them to stay. So we got the clue to that like on the last day, like 24 hours before, and decided we're going to be in the next room and we'll come in and out when he needs to be medicated, according to what the doctor has laid out. And we will let him be on his own and see if he will let go. And he did finally. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that does happen quite a bit. My mom worked in hospice after she came back out of retirement to work, but as a nurse for almost 50 years in the hospital, she said that a lot. She said that people will leave to go home to take a shower, they'll go down to the cafeteria to eat, and when they come back, that's when their loved one has passed.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of space that's created there for the loved one to feel like they're not being tethered, maybe. So that
Yeah.
makes a
Or
lot of sense.
creating more trauma.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of guilt when somebody goes in a really intense way.
Mhm.
They create guilt for themselves, and there's a lot of trauma that gets created during that time. And really being able to forgive that trauma and let it go is really important. And the last 2 nights, being able to relive that trauma and let go of it while he was letting go of it was really big for me too. And I
Yeah.
feel like it really helped. And I feel like he's done with his life review because last night he was doing something else and I wasn't privy to that. So he's like planning something or doing something for the rest of, you know, his
Oh.
next thing that he's gonna
Mhm.
do. Yeah.
The next step. Oh. So that makes a lot of sense. Just to touch base on, the last moments that they're here, the elements change, the physical aspects of them change, and some may look healthy, some may not look so healthy. And when they don't look healthy, it's almost as if they're telling you, this is where I'm headed with this body. Let me go. And you almost feel okay to let them go at a certain point because you don't want to see them suffer anymore.
Yeah.
And it lingers, and it's kind of hard to watch, but it's that's just how it is. At the end, at the very end, that's just how it looks. My grandmother, my dad's mom, was in the hospital years ago. I must have been in my teens, and we went to visit her. They weren't taking care of her properly, just like you said. There was, some issues with dehydration, things like that. And I was a teenager back then. So I just went and I found a cup, I found a straw, I found some water and ice. I was like, yes, I hit the jackpot because it was hard to find things in the hospital. And when I went into the room, she wasn't talking, but then she started moaning really loud. And I could see her eyes looking at the water and it's like, oh, this isn't for me. This is for grandma. So I gave it to her. So things like that, you just, they're unable to communicate with you. If you
Mhm.
just tap into the energy, they're telling you exactly what they need
Yeah.
at the end. Mhm.
Yeah. And one thing is to know that they're still present.
Mhm.
You're still going to see them at night.
Mhm.
Eventually, you'll see them during the day and be able to communicate with them. The veil is disappearing.
Mhm.
And the reason that they're letting go is that their body really couldn't make it through this big change.
Yeah.
And it's a big experience what's happening right now. Like we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for fifth dimensional energy. They
Mhm.
have fifth density now, but the energy hasn't totally risen up to fifth density because a lot of people have been hanging on to these old third density programs. And that
Yeah.
could be lack, it could be relationship stuff, it could be I'm a martyr, it could be I'm persecuted. Whatever it is, it's some kind of victim idea.
Yeah.
And not letting go of that doesn't work right now because we're going forward to be sovereign.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, and I want to touch on because we definitely have a lot of folks watching this around the world, and specifically in Canada, they have a way of offering people
Mhm.
the ability to choose when they shift into the non-physical, they pass over. It's called you. I'm just going to read a little bit about this because I wrote it down, pulled it off the website. Euthanasia, I'm saying that right, in Canada. And it is a legal voluntary form, and it's called medical assistance in dying, aka MAID. And it first became legal along with assisted self taking yourself out. I don't want to use that
Mhm.
word. In June 2016, for those whose passing was reasonably foreseeable. So folks in hospice, things like that. Before this time, it was illegal as a form of culpable taking oneself out, basically. In March 2021, the law was further amended by Bill C7 to include those suffering from a grievous or irredeemable condition whose death was not reasonably foreseeable. And they basically plan to include people with mental illness, and it's been a little controversial to say the least. But
Mhm.
basically, what I wanted to touch on with this is this program, we'll call it the MAID program in Canada and possibly in other countries, is it helpful or hurtful to a soul's path?
It really depends on them.
Okay.
Most of the
Mhm.
time it feels like it would be more helpful
Mhm.
because if you think about um, the original people, they had a party, right? And then they went, walked away, and then laid down and passed. And they chose when they were going to go, but they had enough control over their body that they could just let go.
Mhm.
Whereas people nowadays do not have that. They've been talked out of thinking that they have control over their body when they could. And I know watching what the way that it played out with my father, like it was days of suffering, and he would have been happy to do it that way. So it really, I mean, there was 2 months of back and forth suffering and a lot of crazy stuff that happened. And it fluctuated. It was like this all the time. I was trying to keep up, and keep everything as even as possible because I was the main, caretaker at the moment, for them. And I've been that way since they've been in Colorado with me. Because I came first and then they came, and this is where I was born and this is where they met. And my brothers were born in Washington and they're still in Washington. So they were here for part of the time as
Yeah.
well. And it just was a wild experience because it was so back and forth. And up until that very moment that he said, I want this, I don't want to be here anymore, I thought we were going to fix him and that he was going to be okay.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of, you know, my inner child kind of releasing and allowing him to do what he wanted, but also all the energy around, like, he was fine when he was walking and talking when he went into the hospital. And when he came out of the hospital, he couldn't walk. He wasn't talking well. And so many things happened to him during that time. I don't know how much money they made. I mean, a tremendous amount of money. So
Mm.
with all of the surgeries and, all of the different hospital stays and rehabs and all the stuff that happened, like, to me, it became such a racket, on top of the yucky stuff that was going on there.
Yeah.
So and he was definitely didn't feel good about that system. And he got exactly what he expected out of it, I think. So that was hard too, because I was along for the ride and my mom was along for the ride. And we were there, like, doing our best to keep things on an even keel. And it eventually he got what he was expecting and he asked for, hospice care. He said, I want to go to heaven. And I think respecting that was really important because he knew what he wanted and he was finally voicing that, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just a wild experience. And if you can't see across the veil, or if you're not experiencing these, like I did with the nighttime, experiences with his soul and his inner child, then you don't feel probably as good about it. Like, it's even more traumatic than what happened, with my family. So knowing that is important. And that's why I'm talking about it, because you guys need to know that they're okay and that they are going home. And I mean, my dad's ecstatic that he's home. He's having a great time. So that makes it feel much easier for me knowing that. And that's really important because it's not like they're suffering once they leave their body.
The pain is gone. That's
Mhm.
true. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And there's a lot of reasons that they choose to pass. My friend that I've spoken about in the past that lost her mother 1 year and her father the next year, as I tap into them and relay messages and do whatever I can to help them, they were raised very Catholic. They also raised their children very Catholic, and they didn't want to be here when the whole tower fell in that
Right.
arena. Yeah. So, and that's one of the biggest reasons that they both reemerged into non-physical. So there's a lot of different reasons that people want to move on. But it's important to honor their choices. And the choice that was made with our aunt recently, she was in Canada, my husband's aunt. She was able to get a consultation with this MAID program. I think it happened on a Thursday. On Monday, they had the procedure, and on Tuesday was her funeral. And it was quick, but it was her choice.
Yeah.
So I get the benefits of something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But what I wanted to come to talk about here with Honey is that when we were moving through all of these milestones together, just dropped in that Honey needed more support, not just the comfort and the love, which is exceptional. And I know many of you have added that and sent that her way and continue to do that because that's what we do in a community. But after the dust has settled and things go back on a pace after your loved one has reemerged into non-physical, there's a lot of things that are left over. So what I decided to do and create for Honey is a GoFundMe to help her with a lot of the the things that are the physical things that we have to deal with. I would love to live down the street from you, Honey, and make you a meal
Oh,
and, do something like that because that's, the type of relationship we have. And I'm sure a lot of you would want to do the same thing, but it's not feasible because I'm in Florida and, Honey's in Colorado. So what's the next best thing? To offer funding in order for you to do what you see fit with the funding. Maybe, it's for you and your family, not just to recoup whatever type of expenses were created during this whole process, but also to, continue his legacy. Because he had a lot of work and a lot of things that you said he created for humanity, and now you're able to share it to keep his legacy going. It's the memory of your loved one that you want to continue to feel as you move forward. So we're going to put the link for the GoFundMe in the description. And, if you don't have the money right now, we completely understand, but I want you to really dig deep. And if you've ever been touched by the work of our dear Honey and it's changed your life in some way, really consider giving. Even just $5 would really help with what she's going through, what with the whole family is going through, because it'll really help. It's been a lot. And I think our higher selves got together and your higher self told me, hey, this is something we need to get done. So Dayna, get it done. And I was like, okay, I'm
yeah.
on it. Yeah, it's fun.
Beautiful, beautiful. And getting his workout is a major thing that I want to do. He's got massive amounts of writing that were created for Ascension. And he's got a lot of really beautiful artwork that, people are just going to absolutely love. But this has been his main focus the whole time. But he really had the starving artist program going on, and he also didn't want his name to be out there. There was a shyness about him that I think, his name needs to be out there, his picture needs to be out there. People need to know who this is coming from, this knowledge. And I think that's going to be really beautiful. And yes, it has been a very expensive experience to go through this, but also I want to be able to, I'm not going to type all the books. So, people are going to have to be paid to type. And, I've got somebody lined up that's going to get started with that. And one of my brothers is going to work on one, and we're going to put the artwork out, and it's going to be a project. But I do think it's going to be amazing for the world because it's been his singular focus for probably 65 years of his life was Ascension. Yep.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
And when you look at it, from a big picture, he did ascend, whether it was,
Yeah.
not the exact way he wanted to or without his body, he did ascend. So he achieved his goal.
Hmm. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really for him. Like
Mm.
it's always been about other people, but he never felt like he went to publishers and stuff. And you guys know how artists have been suppressed in the past. But I don't think he believed that that suppression was completely over. And it is over. at this point. We are free to express ourselves and to be who we really are. And he wasn't there yet. And that was one of the programs that wasn't working. You know, there's all these programs, and unfortunately, the older your body is, the more ingrained the programs are, and the more fragile the body was. So it's been really hard on people that were, you know, in their 70s and 80s and 90s right now to go through this process. And they were the scouts. They came here first to make
Mhm.
room for, you know, me and Dayna and like Elisa, people in our, you know, Dana's younger than me, but people that are in the age group, you know, in this kind of rather large age group that we are in.
Mhm.
And we are the warriors and the healers. And then the bridges came, you know, and they're like in their 30s and late 20s. And then the kids are coming in, and the kids are going to change everything. So that's like the flow of how it's all working. But a lot of the scouts have chosen to go during this time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been really hard. And, you know, I just, it's like so many people that I know are dealing with it right now. And it's a wild time, but we are almost through that portal, that birth canal, to get to the other side where we are in the fifth density, and the fifth dimension, you know, not just the
Mhm.
density, but also letting go of the program so that we can go forward and we can do all the things that we've been waiting for. And there's been a lot of resistance, a lot of non belief that has been out there. And if you're feeling any non belief within yourself, I would say really try and work on it and figure out what it is. What's the source of that program inside your own body? And try and turn it off by figuring out what the truth is, because nothing is scary anymore unless we let it be scary. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And not just, you said the key word there, to feel it inside of your body. That is
Mhm.
huge. Just not to go off the beaten path, but just something that happened this week. Somehow someone hacked into my PayPal account. I don't do much on PayPal. I just pay for certain subscriptions, things like that. But they were able, there was an email address on there, phone number, address. I should probably report all that stuff to the authorities, which I need to do. But I was able to clean it off. And somehow they had transferred $1,000 from my bank account, uh, from my bank account to PayPal. And it was completely like, I called PayPal. I turned into a wild thing on the phone with them. I talked to the manager. I got to a
Yeah.
manager. But then that feeling inside of me was still lingering. So
Mhm.
I did, everything worked out. I didn't lose any money, anything like that, but I accidentally double paid my rental property. I double paid the mortgage, which is right around $900. So I still had this extra money come out, because that feeling of losing $1,000 was stuck in me. So really, you got to watch your thoughts and the feelings behind those thoughts,
Mhm.
and feelings underneath that you can't even see, and really nip them in the bud. Journaling, talking about it to someone, envisioning success, whatever you have to do, because man, we are rapidly, manifesting.
Yeah. We're so
Yeah,
powerful
we're
right
so, yeah. I would have never chose to do that. I made a mistake and, double paid, but man, it's not it's not as easy as it used to be. Before you could, push it under the rug and you could skirt through it, but now your thoughts are just creating reality exponentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they really are.
So, mhm.
It's
Watch
so
out for that.
wild. And you can say, I think this is going to happen, or oh, I wish this would happen. and it just shows up, and it can only take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it's so fast at this point. I can't really think of any examples, like for me, really
Mhm.
intense examples. One thing was really funny though, with a timeline shift. I had ordered, I love Irish candy because I'm not allergic to the milk, right?
Mm.
So I ordered some Irish candy and got it in the mail. And then all of a sudden, this weird package showed up, and it was like not Irish candy. It was some kind of Bailey's Irish cream chocolate, all liquid on the inside and stuff. And my husband's like, "Where did this come from? What's this?" And it was something I would have never ordered. It was
Mhm.
definitely an American made candy bar, with milk in it, which I wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I didn't order it. It's not in the, like the list of orders from Amazon. I don't know where it came from. It had my name on it. And it was obviously a timeline shift because I
Mhm.
got the candy bars that I did order.
Mm.
And he was like, "Oh, it must be mine." And then he ate it and he was so happy. And I was like, "Okay, totally good." But what a weird, like, and usually with me, because we live off the grid in the middle of nowhere, and a lot of my shopping is online, even food. And it showed up, and I was like, I don't know where that came from.
So random. Oof.
Random weird stuff. And that
Mhm.
was a timeline shift thing. But
Wow.
we just get, you know, bizarre stuff. And I was getting double packages or packages from, I got these, I love rocks, you know.
Mm.
So I got these weird rocks from China. And I was like, what is that? Like, they were unfortunately not cute rocks. They had been dyed. They were like something that you would pay 10 cents for, 50 cents for.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why? Where did this come from? Because I never ordered them. So you're just getting, like, those are timeline shifts. Those are not manifestation, but really weird. And I'm like, is there somebody who hasn't clued in that is me in a parallel, that hasn't clued into like eating healthier and getting better rocks, and they're sending me like this, like, subpar stuff? Like, where is this coming from? So you just never know, and it shows you the weirdness of this matrix that we're in.
That's
Totally
right.
does. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I know it's been helpful for a lot of folks to wake up in the morning or before you go to bed, just say, I want to wake up in the highest timeline.
Mhm.
So that could be a fix for this, even though, life happens and things fluctuate, but, really feeling good every day, even
Yes.
when the walls are crumbling down around you. And with everything that has gone on in this year alone, for you, honey, 2025 has been pretty rocky from,
Really intense.
yeah, from the pneumonia to
Yeah.
death passing. But I will say, and I know a lot of you can say the same thing, that when we tap into you, when we watch the videos, when we're on your Telegram, we're still inspired. So it's a choice. It's a choice. It's a minute by minute, second by second choice to feel happy. And we're all going to slip. We're all going to fall out of the vortex, like Abraham Hicks used to say. But then you find a way back in, and it's okay to fall out. And when you fall out, that's the most self-love and the unconditional love that you have to give yourself. That is the work that we came here for. When
Mhm.
we fall out of that vortex and we know we can pick ourselves up, you know, hug ourselves, give ourselves that love. And it doesn't come from anywhere else. It just comes from us. So it's really important. And then when we fill our cup, we have enough to give someone else. When your cup's empty, it's not going to work out as easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been hard to keep consistent during all of this craziness. And I'm really grateful to everybody for being, so gracious, so patient, and being appreciative of all the times when I was super consistent, and I was putting out constant content. I do see the world is shifting, and a lot of content will start to shift too.
Mhm.
So we will go into things where, maybe I'm outside, maybe I'm working on a project and I'm talking, and, we're talking as we're learning versus doing Zoom meetings and talking. I think we're going to be together more often, like as a group, which is going to be really good. And those kind of things will be filmed. Just like things are going to become more chill, I feel, and the manifestations will speed up because we will calm down. And it's about our own nervous system too. Like I could feel this morning the angst in the collective. I was like, ooh, it feels yucky. And
Mhm.
Crystal is here and she's been helping, like she came to help with my dad. And she's like, wow, it feels really kind of icky this morning. And she was online. And, when you are in groups and you can feel the energy, it's kind of weird, or you're in the middle of other things and the energy's just kind of weird, but I can just feel it like a wave.
Mhm.
And I could feel my own crankiness this morning when I had to do something that, like, it took me 5 minutes, but I didn't want to do it. So, those kind of things, like being aware of that and being able to rubber band back into your normal happy self, that's important, but not denying whatever it is that you're clearing in that moment that may be angsty, because we're about to go through a big portal. And it's
Mhm.
like the baby that the crown has just come out, like we're right there.
Mhm.
And I expect to see amazing things start to unfold for the world and for us. And the people that are choosing to leave, they're taking a lot of the resistance with them, not just from their own resistance, but also ours. So the shock of them going is also pulling a lot of our own programs out and allowing us to let go of those programs too. It's like like leading the way. They're leading the way to letting go of the programs, and we're ascending in a way where we're doing our life review where we're here,
Yeah.
you know, and they're doing it without their body. So this is the biggest thing that has probably ever happened in the universe as far as healing has been, you know, because we're going from polarized to a non-polarized universe. And we were the most polarized
Yeah.
of all. So humanity has done the universe a huge solid. Like we've really given them a gift, but your soul is probably not human, and your soul is here to lead that human part of you through ascension. And it's just an amazing time. Like there's so much involved. Like you can't even mention all of it in one show. That's for sure.
Yeah. And it's happening on so many levels. It's happening in this physical realm that we're in the astral, in the Akashic records, all over. Amazing. And many more other places that I don't even know what they're called.
Yeah. Inner Earth. I know
Mm.
I've been reading the Barbara Marciniak books just a little bit, not very much. Like I haven't gotten very far in, but basically the Pleiadians were saying if we can help you guys heal, then our future can heal.
Oh,
So we're all connected. You know, we don't realize how connected we really are. And we're all like in these loops of different things that haven't worked, and we're letting go of those. We watched The Last Mimsy a couple nights ago, and at the end, and you guys, this is such a great movie. So at the end, they were like coming out of their biohazard suits, and their biohazard suits look like basically gray aliens,
mm-hmm.
you know, which the gray aliens were part of humanity gone wrong. They were from another parallel,
Yeah.
and they had lost their ability to have DNA that was like they couldn't reproduce anymore. So all of those things are quite intense. But there's so many different factors going on all at once.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's how this is what it was supposed to look like. Who knew how much, energy would be coming through. I love the analogy of going through the birth canal because that's what I do. But we call it transitioning. And for those of you that have had children, you know what that feels like. Even if if it was numbed through, an epidural or even a cesarean section, you still felt the aftermath of that. When we do classes, we tell people that what it feels like is a sensation of taking your fingers and pulling your mouth wide open. And it's just this overwhelming feeling.
Yeah.
But the body, this is the most important part. The body is designed to give birth from a female perspective. But humanity, I really feel deep in my soul that we were designed to take on this burden and give birth to this new golden age. So of
Yeah.
course there's all of this stress and tension and fear and anxiety and losing loved ones and clutter clearing. We got rid of a lot of things in the house and it just feels so much lighter. So there's a lot of things that we have to do and we have to take action. And I know you know what you need to do. Maybe you have to write it down or, talk to someone about it, but just take action. Don't think about it. It wasn't something that I thought about for weeks. The GoFundMe, I was just like, I just have to create it and put it out there. And, we will manifest success with this or whatever you're looking for to manifest success. Just
Mhm.
don't think about it, just do it. And the universe will help you in so many ways, leaps and bounds. You just have to put it out there and just give the task to the universe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we
Yeah.
are all in it together. Like
Yes.
it it's amazing because we are all one being, but we are all different aspects of that being. And we're carrying a piece of that being with us all the time.
Mhm.
And that being is what you would call source or God. And it's vast. It's a vast being. So I think it's really cool that we're doing this on Easter.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much a date that we picked out of the air a while ago. It worked out great.
Yeah,
How fun.
it totally did. So, and I
Mhm.
feel like we're all right at the precipice of something that we've never seen before. So be excited, allow your body to be excited without being afraid. I feel like that's the biggest thing. Humanity has been afraid of things for so long, and letting go of that fear is just so important at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very freeing and know that you're going to be taken care of no matter what that looks like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Whether
Yeah,
you're in a body or not in a body, you're totally taken care of all the time. Yep.
that's right. Oh,
Thank you, Dayna.
yes, my pleasure. So we're
Yes.
going to put that link in the description below. And if you have a social media following, or if there's anywhere you can share the GoFundMe link for Honey, please do it. This is something that we can gift and give back and pay forward for all of the wonderful things that Honey has done for our community and for our personal selves. Now, just the hidden history alone is worth so much because
Oh,
it clears so much programming and it's just amazing. So I appreciate you. I'm sure everyone is thinking the same thing. We appreciate you. And it's the least we could do for you, Honey. Thank you for showing up and showing us what a relationship with a loved one can look like, whether you tap into the afterlife or you don't, just knowing that it's available and it's the next level, and we're breaking glass ceilings and we're moving to that next level of what Ascension is supposed to look like and what the fifth density used to look like. And now we're bringing it back because
yeah,
this is how we started as humanity, and it's a boomerang effect. We're just coming back, but we need these examples to see and to hear. And we really appreciate you, not filtering any of it, just coming out raw and helping us with all of this. So
sure.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes,
Thank you
my pleasure.
all. Like, I appreciate all of you guys,
Mhm.
everybody, and everybody that I communicate with on a weekly, daily basis, like, is so important. And we kind of are starting to come back together as a group. And I feel like most of my audience is probably people that I see all the time in the astral plane. Like, we're part of the same family. We're all in this together, and we
Mhm.
all came here for this. And we definitely had a little bit more of a rosy colored look about what it was going to feel like before we got started, because it has not been an easy process. But I do feel like we're coming through that portal into something more calm, more easy, more like our bodies will be supported better, and it's going to speed up, but not in such an intense, kind of harsh way, because we had
Yeah.
to break through a lot of stuff. And I feel like we're finally getting there with that.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes. Onward.
Dana, thank you, everybody. And we hope that you have a beautiful Sunday afternoon, because I will try and put
Yes.
this out right away. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, honey. Thank
Thank
you, everyone. Have
you.
a great day
Bye,
and
everybody. Love you.
love you.